Okay, it's up. It's up.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy TripleM, of course. Yours truly, joined by Clayton, who is a more familiar face around here, and Ritabile, aka my partner in crime, aka my boy, all the way from primary school. We're here to talk about Manchester United and Crystal Palace, an atrocious game. Manchester United are the only team capable of making Crystal Palace look like prime Brazil. So yeah, hit the like button if you are up for this reaction. And gentlemen, Clayton, we'll start with you. Your initial reactions on the game, man. First game back, United. How do you feel?
Terrible performance, honestly. Always just terrible. Nothing really positive to take away from this except Donny van de Beek. And
Yeah.
it was just terrible showing. We should have done a lot better. We should have fielded a stronger team against Crystal Palace. It's just a mess in general.
Yeah. And Ritz, how are you feeling, bro?
All right, gents, this team will kill you. This team
Lamar.
This team will finish you. Like, dude.
It has tonight.
I expected so much more. And
I mean,
I think for me, maybe it's a bit of a wake-up call. I expected so much more.
Yeah.
I want to talk a bit about that. Sorry for cutting you off. I want to talk a bit about that very briefly. Like, what were your expectations of United today? I didn't watch. I wasn't obviously here when you guys did the preview.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? What were you expecting?
Dude, I said win 3-0. Imagine 3-0.
No.
I think we all had convincing wins at the end of the day.
Look,
a bit of a challenge, but convincing wins. Yeah.
I realize our team has issues, but we should have enough to be Crystal Palace. We definitely should. And today we were just horrible. We were bad. And I'll start with the attack first. Let me shout out Crystal Palace because I think they're very organized. Counter, they're very good, but that shouldn't be enough against Manchester United.
Yeah.
But our attack, I don't know. It wasn't tactics. It wasn't tempo. We were just not on it. The players were just off. Even quality players like Pogba, they were making passes that were going nowhere. I don't know if it's because we only played one preseason. I don't want to use that as an excuse, but there was something definitely wrong from all the top hitters. James, I thought James was horrible. I thought James was atrocious. Like every time the ball goes that side, we lose it, and there's no productivity whatsoever. Yeah. So in that sense, I understand the whole Jadon Sancho problem. Because we know Greenwood wasn't fit. That's fine. But then there'll be times, let's say Greenwood is injured, so we don't have him on the bench. And now we're having to play with a player like that, and there's no productivity whatsoever. Yeah. But that wasn't even the half of it. Defense was horrible. I don't know what is going on in defense today. It was so bad. Foster is nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. Yep. And that was a big problem. Palace just kept coming down that way. And we didn't even touch Shaw. They didn't need to because there's so much space on the other side. And then Lindelof had a horrible game. Because with Foster being nowhere to be seen, it was Lindelof 1-on-1 with all the players coming down that side, and he couldn't keep up. And he was so edgy, he was committing so many mistakes. So that defense, something needs to happen. Because I remember you made a point a while back that we used to sit deep, and that defense was very protected. But now we try to play a very expensive style. You get the ball and you want to move it. Because that's what the top teams do. Because of that, our backline's been exposed now. And I don't know if it can carry us through the season. I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of things to break down there about what you said. And Clayton, we'll get your thoughts in a minute. A lot of things to break down there. I think 3 or 4 rebuttals to what you said. I'll start with the expectations. Look, I understand it's Crystal Palace, right? But at the end of the day, you've got to look at Manchester United and the pattern over the last 7 years. And what has happened over the last 7 years? Well, let me give you a quick refresh. Of what's happened over the last 7 years. This might be a little bit of a rant. David Moyes got hired, got sacked. Mourinho got hired, got sacked. Van Gaal got hired and sacked. Not in that order, obviously. Every right winger, Memphis Depay, Alexis Sanchez, Valencia at some point who played on the right as well, Angel Di Maria, now Daniel James as well. Every right winger we've had in the last 7 years has been terrible. Every left winger, bar Marcus Rashford, and maybe one other person that I'm not remembering because it's been so bad since Alex Ferguson left, has been terrible. Every CDM, not just McTominay today, by the way, every CDM before Matic started to pick up form, Carrick was terrible because he was aging after Fergie left anyways. Schneiderlin was a horrible investment. Schweinsteiger didn't even play. The World Cup winner didn't even play, and he came to Old Trafford. So every CDM, every right winger, every pretty much, I would say our centre-back issues have been a problem for a very long time. So there's a recurring theme and a recurring pattern in this team. And what I noticed today is that a lot of people are going in on specific players and going in on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And look, I understand that, but that's not the big problem. That's not the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that this team did not spend in the transfer window. And I'll tell you what, if we don't get Jadon Sancho, we are not making top 4. Mason Greenwood is immature, he's inconsistent, and he's young. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has every right not to play Mason Greenwood because he's got to protect him. An 18-year-old, 19-year-old, however old Mason Greenwood is, he shouldn't be playing every game at this level. He shouldn't be the number 1 right winger. We should get someone who's actually world-class and proven at the highest level and is actually first-team quality, not just a one-season wonder, not just a one-game wonder. Because I'll tell you what, Mason Greenwood played against Sevilla and he was shit. Rashford played against Sevilla, he was shit. So was Martial. I mean, Martial actually played well, to be fair, but not well enough to impact the game. So 11 of those players, 11 of our best players, bar Donny van de Beek, actually played against Sevilla and they were crap. And this team is not good enough to move forward. And I think at the moment, we need to buy starting players and push some of the players in our current team to the bench to fix our depth problems. Honestly, we cannot have this nonsense about buying a Adama Traore and letting Mason Greenwood and him share a role. That's scary to me. We cannot have this nonsense about Wan-Bissaka's good enough. Let's just, buy another a B-Tech version and play him there. If we have a problem at left back, we also have a problem at right back because where's Aaron Wan-Bissaka? And I tell you what, he was nowhere to be seen when he was playing after COVID as well because it's a problem. So to me, today is more about personnel than it is about tactics. The tactics were awful, don't get me wrong, but it was more about personnel. Why?
I get that, and you're 100% right. And I feel like for me, I have been not completely sure about Jadon Sancho, thinking, do we really need to spend that much money? But now I do see that we need a catalyst in that department. But here's the problem.
You can't fix our problems with him alone, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we need to get him first.
Here's the problem. With the problems you have in defense, is it wise to spend 120 million on an attacking player? Because in my opinion, it seems like our defense is a much bigger problem.
Okay, let me answer this question the way I've answered every other United fan. We can all talk about what we want to happen and what we think should happen at Manchester United, but the reality is we've got to look at what's happening and draw the positives. Manchester United are not signing a centre-back. Hello, we're not paying 50 million for Upamecano. We're not in for any centre-backs. We're in for Jadon Sancho. The reason why Jadon Sancho is so important for me is because everyone in the world, whether you're Fabrizio Romano or some no-name journalist trying to get clout on the internet, knows that we are in for Jadon Sancho. That is the deal that Manchester United are working on. That's why they haven't signed anybody else besides Donny van de Beek, because they haven't seriously been in for anyone else. And you know how United are. They take 6 years to do one deal. And I think that deal has been Jadon Sancho. Is it wise? Probably not. But the point, what's wise with this team? What's wise with this team? Is it wise to buy Di Maria? Is it wise to buy Falcao? Was it wise to buy Schweinsteiger? Was it wise to buy Zlatan Ibrahimovic, even though he scored 20 goals? He was just a short-term investment to slow down our team, There's so many things that this team does that are unwise. And for the first time in a long time, we're actually spending money on a world-class talent who is still relevant. Not a has-been, not an ex-Champions League winner at Real Madrid who's just coming to, get his wages up. So I don't know. But Clayton, what do you think some of the, and we'll get to you, Ritter. What do you think are some of the biggest problems with of anything we've discussed just now, really?
Yeah, so I think Showing Our Friday show covered it very well. I think it starts at the top, and I think just the owners in general are the issue, and we should look at the top before we start complaining at Zadi and the players today. He did okay. He could have been a lot better tactically at the end of the day. I do think there could have been a lot of improvement down that route, even if it was just squad selection, for example. We could have started Greenwood, even though he wasn't fully fit. He's something we needed, and you saw the impacts in the second half. We looked a lot sharper immediately, despite going down 2 goals. Things like that need to change. We need a starter right winger. We can't rely on an 18-year-old. You're 100% correct. And I think we need a lot of work to even progress, and that involves signings right now. Everyone around us is making big signings. And we're just standing still right now. And if we don't get the Sancho deal down the line, this is a failure of a transfer window at the end of the day.
It is, because We've needed a right winger for 7 years.
Yeah.
Like, we needed a right winger for 7 years. But Rita, what do you think, man?
Okay.
Because it's not that black and white. I get it. And yes, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is definitely at fault for some of the decisions he made today. But I definitely think the biggest problem at this club is just, and we've spoken about this off air a lot, is the lack of competence in our recruitment. And even when we do sign a good player, we take 6 years. What do you think?
True. But I want to ask, let's just say, okay, we're not going to sign a centre back. It looks like it. What is the solution? Because I don't think that it can work, and it was confirmed today. Maguire and Lindelof just can't do it. If we're going to play like we play, just can't do it. So does that mean us going back to maybe playing with 2 reserved CDMs, sitting, and even playing 5 at the back in some games? Because can we afford to play like this in a 30-game season and expect to make top 4 with that partnership at the back?
It's the board. It's the board. I'm sorry for saying the board so much. You're going to hear that a lot from me today. It's the board. Because I tell you what, Arsenal signed an absolute baller in Gabriel Magalhaes. If you do not know much about Gabriel Magalhaes, Google him. You might not be able to spell his last name, but just spell Gabriel to us. Just search Gabriel to Arsenal or something. Watch some compilation videos of that kid. You're not going to see anything super amazing, super flashy. But I tell you what you will see. You'll see quick closing down. You'll see quick, slick slide tackles. You'll see a baller who knows how to go forward and has composure. And we'll see how he does at Arsenal. Okay, he could fail. But the reality is, at Manchester United, we should have closed in on deals like Gabriel Magalhaes. I don't care what anybody says. The credible information out there suggests that Manchester United were definitely talking to one of that kid's agents. Oh, I call him a kid. Like, but you know what I mean. And I think that's a problem. I guess what I'm trying to say is nowadays you don't really know what Manchester United are doing, because when Manchester United are interested in a player, it doesn't necessarily mean that we formally contacted the club. It could mean that we've just had scouts in that country, and because one of the biggest clubs in the world, anything that's affiliated with Manchester United in a foreign stadium means we're in for someone. It happened with Bruno. It's happened with a lot of players. You just never know what is actually going on. What is Manchester United actually doing? Like, what is Ed Woodward sat doing in his office besides talking about Sancho over the last, I don't even know. He had 3 months, during COVID. 3 months to go into a Zoom call with Ole and be like, listen, mate, it's a tough time, pandemic. This is what we can do. What are we planning for the summer if and when you make top 4?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's fault, because I think that plan, whatever that plan was, whatever Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was promised, because he must have been promised something, it hasn't come through, either in the form of Jadon Sancho, which still hasn't happened, or in the form of other players like Gabriel Magalhaes that we just haven't got. Reguilon is now going to Spurs. Gareth Bale is not a player I wanted Manchester United. Yeah, but it's still Gareth Bale. Spurs are still signing Gareth Bale, Liverpool, we can go, we didn't want Thiago anyways. Let's not be that club. Let's not be the we didn't want him anyways club. Like, would you not rather have Gareth Bale and Thiago as business done in the summer rather than nothing? Wouldn't you rather your club at least did something? Yeah. So let's not be that club that's like, we didn't want him anyways because he's old. And like, we need to do business. And Gareth Bale on loan, I tell you what, is a massive improvement over Dan James, and probably has more to offer in terms of experience and knowledge of the game than Mason Greenwood does. I'm sorry, but Mason Greenwood is still a teenager. So definitely, that's what I think the solution is to this problem. I don't think playing deep is the answer, because at the end of the day, Matic and Pogba can only do so much to save that defense. They can only do so much. There's going to be games where we go 2-0 down. We have to push forward. What are we going to do then? You can't play 2 deep midfielders when you're 2 or 3 down. You have to go for the game. So it's a catch-22. And Manchester United have really wet the bed. And the only way they can make it worse is by letting the Sancho deal fall through. It's unbelievable. At least I can say about Lindelof and Maguire, they somehow managed to get the third most sheets in Europe last season. At least I can say that, At least I can say that. Yeah. I can't say that about, the right wingers. There's no good stats to back up why we shouldn't sign a right winger in the last 7 years. So that's for me.
I guess at this point, I'm just hoping somehow Lindelof and Maguire can galvanize and find that form again, because we're going to need it. And transfer-wise, I'm hoping that we can sign the left back we're talking about, and we can sign the Jadon Sancho, because if we don't, there's serious holes in this team. There's serious holes.
Yeah, and I think what makes Lindelof and Maguire worse is when our midfield doesn't play well. Like, look, Lindelof and Maguire, whether or not they were on form last season or not, I don't know. I think they're good defenders who just don't work well together. And the reality is, no matter how well they play, there's just some things that will never be fixed between those two. Closing down crosses, I don't think it's an issue of positional awareness, but I think it's an issue of them just not being quick enough to close down attackers quickly. In the so
like every time someone was running at them, it was so frightening to me because it looked like every single time they were going to get beat.
Yeah, and that's the problem. So you ask Matic and Pogba to sit back in front of that defense, and basically what you're doing is you're saying, okay, boys, we're going to sit back today and try and nick a goal, 1-0. Back to PE tactics, fam. And I tell you what, when you've got Mason Greenwood, Martial, Rashford, even after everything I've said about Greenwood, he's still a talented footballer. You can't sit back with that. You can't sit back with Van der Beek and Pogba. Like, it's just, I don't know where you go with this Manchester United team because it's just honestly depressing. And the only bit of joy I had, and the only reason I had any bit of expectation this summer, and anybody in this, even in this call will know, and anybody watching will know, the only reason I was optimistic about the season was because of Jadon Sancho. If we don't get Jadon Sancho, this team is not making top four. And honestly, I'm not getting super emotionally invested with United this season. You know, I'm not going to get blood pressure because of some inbred billionaire owners who doesn't care about me and has a fake job title. I mean, there's so many directors at Manchester United, it's laughable. It actually looks like a fake business for money laundering. They've got like, I know this is off topic, but they've got like 4 or 5 directors, a vice chairman in Ed Woodward. Vice chairman? What does a vice chairman at a football club even do? Can anyone tell me what a vice chairman does at a football club? It's a fake job title. But anyways,
Definitely
I digress, man. Let's get into the player ratings, man, before this goes on too long. De Gea out of 10, what did you think of him? I mean, he technically saved the penalty, but of course was screwed by getting off the line. What are you guys giving him out of 10? Rita, we can
Should I go first?
Sorry.
Okay. I think he did pretty well today. I think he looked better in some games last season, and you can't blame him for the goals. I don't think he did anything wrong. All the goals, it would have been difficult for any keeper in the world. And he saved the penalty. Yes, it was a very poor penalty from Ai, but he saved the penalty. So, and the new rule, it is a bit shady, but the rules are the rules. So I'm going to give him, he conceded 3 goals. I'm going to give him 6.5.
All right. Clayton, what you giving him then out of 10?
Yeah. I think De Gea had a subpar performance. I think he could have done a bit better. A lot of the issues were down to the defense at the end of the day. There weren't always things that he could stop. And the pen was obviously not counted at the end of the day. So I don't think I can give him a 6. Honestly, I think you'll have to go for a subpar 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning into the show, I honestly think it's going to get worse from here. You know, a 5 and a 6 is probably a man. Bar Van der Beek. If you remove Van der Beek from that team, De Gea is man of the match. By the way. Plus, I've got a special message from Shawnee325, who's not on the show today, but we'll get to that in a sec. Fossumens out of 10.
What a 2.
Yeah.
What did he do? What did he do? He's flying there, but he's not productive whatsoever. He's doing jack shit up there. And then defensively, he's nowhere to be seen, too. Bloody hell.
Yeah. So for me, I actually think he was somewhat productive going forward, but he was linking up with Dan James at the end of the day, so it just resulted in the ball getting lost at the end of it. Trying to do 1-2s with someone who doesn't want to actually play the game that well or doesn't have the IQ to play with you, it's very frustrating. You can see that from him. And as soon as Greenwood came on, he looked a lot better, but it was still a very bad performance from him. And I would say a 3, a slight improvement. Like a 3, 4, yeah. I think that's fair.
Just very brief. Because I've never asked you this, especially not on the show, what are your opinions of Timothy Fossumens as a footballer? Have you completely written him off, the 2 failed loan spells in the Premier League, on top of the fact that we don't really know what position this guy plays in? We've seen him left back, we've seen him right back, we've seen him centre back, we've even seen him suggested as a CDM. What is your opinion of him as a footballer?
I still don't think I've seen enough of him at the end of the day, but he is still one of our youth prospects in a way. So I do think he is someone that should be on the bench. I do think he should be a squad option. But at the end of the day, our squad still lacks a lot of depth, and I don't think he is good enough to back up Wan-Bissaka when Wan-Bissaka's in form at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oof. I mean, when people use potential as a way to counter-argue your your position in the team, it's a bit of a yikes. But anyways, we move on. Maguire out of 10. 80 million pounds. Just saying.
I feel like we're having the same issue a few seasons ago with Bailly and then when Mourinho was asking for a centre back, and Edward was like, "But you got centre backs. So what do you want me to do? You got centre backs." I'm pretty sure Edward, wherever he is, he's saying, "I just spent 80 million in a centre back. You want me to buy another one?" I think he doesn't understand that's the nature of football, because we saw it under Pep with some of the players. If they don't work out, if you want to be a championship winning team, you have to go out and spend again. And he's not been the player we thought he was going to be. We thought he was going to be the guy who comes and leads his defense and makes the other players better around him. He has not done that. And he didn't make too many mistakes today, but there was nothing amazing about him. He was very average. So I'm going to give him a 5.
Yeah, look, my opinion, my expectations of Harry Maguire when he came to this team were very low. I didn't rate Maguire before he got here. I don't rate Maguire while he's here. I know a lot of you will disagree. I think Lindelof is better and half the price. Lindelof was crap today as well, don't get me wrong, but that's just my opinion. You know. What did you think then of Maguire out of 10?
Yeah. I think I kind of agree with you, Marcus. I think I didn't expect too much going into it with him when we went in for him, sorry. I think Maguire wasn't exactly the best signing. I think we could have done a lot better than him, especially for that price tag. And I think just overall we're still disappointed by his performances day in, day out.
Yeah.
In all honesty, today he's had a very slow start to get into the game. I felt he was making a lot of mistakes, forcing passes on the DMs, whether it be Pogba or McTominay. I feel like he forced it too much at times and created mistakes on their behalf. And so until the end of the game, I only saw him come to life. So he gets a 3 from me.
Yeah, and by the way, just to respond to what you said, sorry, Ed Woodward for me is an idiot. He's an idiot. Because if he's raising his hand going, "I spent 80 million pounds," you idiot, you could have spent 50 the summer before. If you just acted the summer before, you could have got him for 50. Chilwell was also available for around 30. So for 80 million pounds, you could have got yourself a left back and a centre back when the manager at the time asked you for it. No, we want to play hardball and wait till the next summer when our budget's up. And he's doing the same bloody thing with Sancho. If we come here and spend 200 million for Sancho or more than 120 million next season, and then Edward goes, "What do you want? I bought a right winger for 140. It's like, no, you bloody screwed up. You waited a season just so that you could negotiate a better deal for yourself and your bloody, I don't even know what car he drives, but to pay for your bloody petrol on the way to Carrington, so you can look like a boss every time you want to make a signing. And that's the only time you really show up. He's the devil. He is the devil. If there's someone in football who is the devil, or at least the devil's son, who has a special seat reserved next to the throne of the red guy himself. It's Ed Woodward, because he's an idiot. You could have had Maguire for cheaper. There were other options. But anyway,
there were so many other options.
Yeah, at least he gave us
everywhere we got better options.
Yeah, at least he gave us Bruno.
I feel like nowadays at least we're looking to more foreign players. You see Van der Beek and Bruno Fernandes. I feel like we should have done it with when we were looking for a centre back. And this obsession with English players which we had back then, dude, it has killed us now because we bought this guy who is worth 40 million or something like that, and we bought him for double the price.
Yeah. I mean, no. To be fair, I think 60 million, 50 million, borderline fair for Maguire. I think.
Yeah.
Maybe now he's 40 million. Maybe now because of how he's.
Yeah, definitely. But
Maguire he's definitely dropped in value.
But Maguire was at England and Leicester, definitely. But
yikes. Big yikes. Look. We can talk about it all day, but the reality is not all your transfers work out. I think the problem with Manchester United is this happens too often. Good teams have a 60 or 70% success record with their transfers. Manchester United need to get that percentage up because the reality is whether you're City, whether you're PSG, whether you're Real Madrid, you're going to make bad signings just because that's how life works. Sometimes it wasn't meant to be, but it's just too many times with United, and it's always at such a ridiculous price. And then as soon as we spend less on a foreign player, all of a sudden it works out. Sometimes, at least. I know Mkhitaryan was a fail, but look at Bruno, look at Van der Beek, as you said. But yeah, let's move on. Let's move on. Lindelof out of 10. Rita, we'll start with you.
90 minutes from hell. That's what that was. It was so bad. He was so edgy, so edgy, and you don't want to blame him for the penalty. Yeah. You do say this a lot, and it's true because when he's like this, it just looks like he can't help himself but do everything wrong. And then Fosimento flying didn't help him as well because he was basically playing two positions and he was losing out every single time he had to go 1-on-1 with the player. So two.
Yeah. And what are you giving him there, Clay?
I think Lindelof actually had a marginally better game than Maguire overall. He was attacked a lot, admittedly, and he did get beaten most of those times at the end of the day. But he did go up against one of the best wingers in the Premier League, admittedly. You can't exactly give him flack for not being able to cover one of the most tricky wingers known to the Premier League at this point. So I think he made a good few recoveries. He made a good few passes at the end of the day. So slightly better than Maguire, so 3.5.
Yeah, look, the only reason I defend Lindelof is because it's that price tag, you know. For me, the argument of Lindelof is better than Maguire or Maguire is better than Lindelof. I don't really care at this point, you know. It's like saying, you know, do you want a Ferrari or a Porsche? This one does 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. This one does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. But this one costs 80 million for the extra 0.5 seconds, and this one costs 40 million for the 3 seconds. What do you want? Obviously, you're going to take the 3 seconds unless you know the 0.5 seconds matters to you that much. So for me, it's like with Lindelof and Maguire. I think Lindelof was awful today, and they're both so bad that at this point I don't even see the point of saying who's better.
They were both terrible at the end of the day.
It's just it's one of them things, man. It's one of them things. But anyways, we move on. Interesting one. Luke Shaw, left back, first game back, and God knows how long. What are you giving him out of 10, Rita?
Yeah, no, it wasn't horrible. I feel like, yes, you could say he should have tracked his man for the first goal, but I feel like it wasn't completely his fault. Maybe the other players could have done better, and he wouldn't have been in that situation. Yeah. And I feel like going forward, he wasn't horrible. He wasn't bad. I feel like he was just hurt by playing around a team that was doing really bad. So I think in the back line, he was the best. So I'm going to give him this.
Plus, just came back from an injury, and he hasn't played in quite a while. People forget that Luke Shaw was out pretty much since the Chelsea weekend when we lost in the FA Cup. So, yeah. What do you think?
I do feel like
he was out for a while.
I do feel like if Wan-Bissaka was here, I'm not saying he would have won the game, but I think it would have been much better because you saw they didn't bother go Luke Shaw's side because they knew they weren't going to get the joy they were getting from Fosimento. If Wan-Bissaka was there, I feel like it could have been a little bit more solid.
It's difficult with Wan-Bissaka because I watched him after COVID, you know. Yes, he's better than Fosimento. What does that say about Fosimento? But Wan-Bissaka was awful the last time he played against Crystal Palace. He was awful. Wan-Bissaka was to blame for that offside goal that Townsend scored. Wan-Bissaka was to blame because he didn't close down that cross. Let me refresh your memory. Yeah. Not very long on this podcast, we were sat here saying we should have lost to Crystal Palace. We don't deserve to be third. And I was being Mr. Positive. Doesn't matter. We're still going to leapfrog Chelsea. Relax. But it was the same thing. And it's funny because the guy you were talking about is the one who cost us. But he is an improvement.
That's true. That's true. But I feel like considering how Palace are playing, so one-on-one play, he's brilliant at that. So definitely would have been.
Yeah, he would have. It's Fosimento. I mean, you know. But anyways. Okay, what do you give him?
Exactly.
4 out of 10.
Yeah, I think Luke Shaw looked pretty good in a team full of bad people at the end of the day. Everybody was just having a poor performance. I think Luke Shaw deserves about a 5. Conceding 3 against Palace isn't exactly something a defender can go off with more than a 6 for at the end of the day. He did do well going forward. He did his duties going back, as limited as they were. So a 5 for him.
I was praying he wasn't getting injured because if we wasted a sub on a left back or right back, I would have lost it. But anyways, probably, I don't even know if this guy is going to be the worst or lowest rating. But anyways, McTominay, what a terrible game he had. Rita, what are you giving him out of 10? Or should I say out of 3? Really?
Like, what did he do? Like when I saw it, a little part of me was like, okay, let's see. Maybe they're easing him into this position. Maybe they've been working on training. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. What did he do? Like, I guess last season, there's this whole thing that maybe he's a box-to-box midfielder. None of that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Defensively,
Yeah.
he can't do it. He can't sit. He had like 1 or 2 tackles here and there, but he was crap. He was just crap. He was a massive hole in the midfield, and he deserves a 2.
Yeah. I mean, I think if Shawnee was here, he would have said -1, to be honest. But anyways, Clay, what are you giving him?
Yeah, I disagree a little bit. I think McTominay was argued had a lot better of a 90 than Pogba did. I think he made some good runs. I think he did track back a lot. They both dived into tackles a lot at the end of the day. They both gave away reckless fouls. They both gave the ball away a lot. It wasn't good performance from our midfield in the slightest, but I do think it's a bit far to call him the worst in the midfield. I feel like he had brought the energy to United that we needed. I feel like he tracked back a good amount. At the end of the game, he was even playing as a makeshift right back in essence. He made a few interceptions here or there. He didn't look like this lost puppy that I was expecting to see. So it could just be more surprise than actual performance at the same time.
Yeah.
But I don't think McTominay was one of the worst players on the field. I think we had a lot more issues to deal with, namely in the back line. So I'd give McTominay a 4.
Yeah, I think United fans, and I'll let you go on, but I think United fans don't actually understand what a CDM is supposed to do. Some United fans, because I've seen people say, oh, Fred is such a good CDM. I'm like, what does Fred do there to improve the defense? Everything that Fred is good at improves nothing about that Crystal Palace game. What? He runs more. Oh, wow. He runs more. Does he have a first touch? No. Does he is he extremely physical and extremely tenacious enough to bully big strikers? No. I just don't see it with Fred. And the thing that annoys me about Fred is people say that Fred is better. Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, we're talking about 2 different ceilings here. McTominay's a triple-story house as a young player. His ceiling is much higher than Fred. Fred is a 26-year-old and he's a 1-story townhouse. That's all you're getting. You're not getting any higher than that ceiling. If you want to extend the house, sell it and go buy another house. Because I tell you what, renovating a single-story townhouse is pretty expensive. You got to take the roof off. You got to put in stairs and find a place. I hope you get the metaphor. And I'm not disrespecting Fred. It's just true. What 26-year-old in world football has as high a ceiling as McTominay does right now? You know, we don't know what the best of McTominay is yet. At least I can say that about McTominay. I know what the best of is, and he doesn't change that game today unless he has his best game. That's just my opinion. But
that is true. That is true. But I feel like with Fred, I understand what he's trying to do, and he might not be very good into the tackling and the defensive side of the 6, but he's at the vocal points and the distributor and the quarterback, if you like. And I feel like you understand the role. With McTominay, I don't know what he's doing. Is he an 8? Is he a 6? What is he doing? And a player like that, a volatile player like that, I'd prefer coming off the bench. Maybe he can give us something. Starting, I don't agree with it.
Oh, that's the thing with young players. You can't just play them out of position. McTominay wasn't playing as a CDM a year ago. And this is what I keep saying about young players. It takes time to learn a role. People pretend like the Premier League isn't high in football. Like, oh, just move him up the field. It shouldn't be that hard, you know? No, it is bloody hard because the difference between a CDM, a box-to-box midfielder, and an attacking midfielder, 2 completely different, or 3 completely different things. Yeah. So I think that's what I mean when I say United fans don't understand what a CDM is, because you talk there about a distributor. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you telling me the problem with United today was just distribution? I tell you what, a CDM, and I'm not saying that's exactly what you said, but some people with Fred talk about his distribution skills like that would have made a difference today. And maybe it would have going forward. But going back, what does it change? And that's the thing. A central defensive midfielder is supposed to help the defense, kids. That's what they're supposed to do. Fundamentally, yes, going forward, it's nice to have a CDM who's tenacious. It's nice to have a CDM who can distribute. It's nice to have a CDM who is the focal point. But the difference between Fred and Matic is Matic controls the game from the back. And it's up to everybody else to do it going forward. And I'm not saying Fred is a terrible CDM. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that at least with McTominay, there's a development in that role. I don't know if Fred fixes that,
Yeah.
but it's just my opinion.
No, that's
honestly.
true. That's true. Because McTominay, as you say, the ceiling is much higher, and he could be something amazing in the next 5 years or so. But I feel like, and as
Fred
much
could
as
have
Clay
done
disagrees, as much Clay disagrees,
Fred
I feel like there was no impact to McTominay. There would have been some kind of impact with Fred.
Yeah, I just think people don't see the impact, with CDMs, because I've heard people say Matic has no impact, and I'm like, what are you on about?
That's insane.
Just these positional. It's just these positional presence in certain positions changes the shape of the team and the formation. But anyways, I digress. We're not here to talk about that. We're going to go with Pogba first before we get to Bruno. Pogba, what did you make of him? Oh, by the way, message from Shawnee. He gives Pogba a -1. Just putting it out there. What do you guys think? Ritu, we'll start with you.
I don't know. I think Shirley just has a very high expectation for Pogba. So,
I'm the
Look,
same.
I felt like he started very bad. Very bad. He was trying to play his usual game, but then the passes weren't going anywhere. And I feel like there wasn't that sharpness about him. But I felt like as the game went on, he got slightly better. It wasn't great at all, but I feel like he was one of our better midfielders. And I don't know. I felt like he was playing more forward than he usually does, trying to find more shots. I don't know if that's instruction from the manager, but that's what he was doing today. And I felt like it didn't help us whatsoever because he's usually the orchestrator in the middle, and I felt like that was a bit lost. So, a mixed bag. So I'm going to give him a 6.
I thought McTominay should have been brought off, and Pogba should have been dropped to the deep role, and Van der Beek should have been up front. Not because I think Pogba played better than McTominay, but because McTominay had nothing to offer going forward when we're 2-0, 2-1 down. Pogba would have helped. So, but Ollie's his own man, and we've seen this before. So, what do you think of Pogba there, Clay, out of 10?
I think in the first half, Pogba was terrible. I saw him at moments. He was higher than Martial up the pitch. It was ridiculous what was going on when just leaving McTominay all alone in that midfield and not letting anything happen, really. I just felt like they were trying to distribute balls and there was no one to distribute to because everybody was too far forward and nobody could break the low block because we didn't have our creative players actually there to pick the pockets of space. I think in the second half, he did look a lot sharper. I think he came back with a lot of intent to do better. And I think he proved that until about the 60th minute. And then he just kind of fell off a lot. So I would give Pogba a slightly better 4. I don't think he was good enough at all. I think he had a lot to work on in his game. I definitely don't think he was good enough today, though.
Yeah, I'm starting to have. I mean, we'll get to Rashford in a bit, and I think Rashford's a lot worse. But I'm starting to believe Pogba has the hot and cold syndrome sometimes. Because this guy, for all the stats and all the numbers that people bring up and all the arguments, on his day he's a world class. On his day he's one of the best midfielders in the world. Just look at that picture of him with the World Cup. Yeah, I get it, but sometimes I just don't see it with Pogba. I just don't see it, and my expectations of Pogba aren't ridiculously high like some other people. I don't expect him to come play out the park every single week, but I expect a player of his class to at least do the simple things well. And it seems like when Pogba's really bad, he's really bad. When Pogba's really good, he's really good. And there's almost no in between with him. And I don't know what it is. I can't quite put my finger on it, but we move on.
Look, I think, before we move on, I think after COVID, personally, I feel like we found Pogba's position, and that is an 8. And I feel like when he played there and consistently played there, he was very consistent. I feel like when we see the worst of Pogba, is when he tries to do too many things, which we saw today. He was trying to play as a 10, he was trying to play as a 6, and he's horrible at playing as a 6. So he just needs to get back to it.
Yeah. Ironically, I believe that's the same problem with Marcus Rashford. I've always said that I think he needs to simplify his game when he's out of form and stop trying to play himself out of form. And I think Pogba, it's a similar problem, obviously 2 very different positions, right? You spoke about it there. He was very consistent after lockdown when he had one thing to do. And that's what I've been saying about Pogba all along. I don't listen to this crap about him being one of the best midfielders in the world. I couldn't give a toss about that, mate. Can you pass the ball? Can you move it along quickly? And can you stop doing Cruyff turns when there's a guy on you and conceding cheap goals when De Gea is still running back to his line because you didn't look behind you when the ball was coming at your feet? Can you do the simple things properly? That's all I want.
We don't need a one-man army.
Exactly.
So for me, with Pogba, I've always wanted him to do the simple things, and he doesn't do it consistently enough, after COVID, great, Pogba was there, but it was only 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or however long it was. He wasn't there in the Sevilla game. He wasn't there in the Chelsea game. So really, he only played consistently for 3 weeks. Whereas there's people like Bruno who hit the ground running for 6 months and were doing the same thing for the 6 months before in a different league. There's people like Martial who've been extremely consistent at what they're good at doing. Rashford, even though he's completely off right now, was extremely consistent in a time where Manchester United was struggling, right? And I just feel like with Pogba, for all the stats and numbers that people use to justify him, I just don't see it. I just don't see it because for me, I'm a simple man. And if you're a box-to-box midfielder, I just want you to do the simple things. I don't care about how good you are at playing diagonal balls across the field that look picture perfect in montage videos on YouTube. Can you look behind you before you get the ball? Can you move the ball along quickly? Can you, just move on with it, just get a move on sometimes and stop being lazy and slouch. And, the small things is always the issue with me with Pogba, but we move on. Bruno Fernandes, some people say he was our best defender today. What did you guys think? And I think he's a very polarized figure at Manchester United at the moment.
Yeah.
Out of 10, what are you giving him, Rita?
Yeah, no, some of those tackles surprised me. I didn't know he had it in his locker, but I don't think he was great. I feel like we've come to he's not immune to a bad game. I mean, that run at the start of the season where it seemed like you could do no wrong. But towards the end, and now we're seeing that there will be games where he'll be off, and we need other players to step up. And I feel like he just wasn't doing it today. So I'm going to give him a 6.
He said this in his own press conference. He's a high-risk, high-reward player. He's a high-risk, high-reward player. What did you think of him, Claire?
I think Bruno did his job well today. Whatever Ollie told him to do, he was doing. He tracked back a lot. He was basically playing centre-back at the end of the game, which just blows my mind that you can instruct your top playmaker to basically play centre-back when we're down 2 goals. It blows my mind that that's the tactic he comes up with. But hey, he did his job well. He went in a lot. He just couldn't quite get us over the line going forward. So I'm going to give him an average 6.
Well, if you want to talk about versatility, Bruno Fernandes can do it all. He can do it all. But anyways, Trashford out of 10. Yes, you heard it, Trashford. And he's my favorite player at this team, by the way.
Wait, did he play today?
I don't know. I don't think he did. I think he got stuck in traffic. Maybe he stubbed his toe on the way out of the bus. I don't think he actually. But what would you have given him out of 10 if he did play today?
When he does play, we have a really good player. But when he's on form, we have a really good player. He scores goals. He's entertaining. But in bad games, it's like we'll play with no left wing. That's how bad it gets. So I don't even know what to say on Marcus Rashford. It's the same complaints. Maybe. It's the same complaints. I feel like as well, he just needs to simplify his game. He's got the pace, pass and run. And I feel like he'd be a bit more consistent with that. And there was one shot he tried when 70th minute, I don't know what was going on. Where he ran through and there was an opportunity to pass to a player and he just tried some other ridiculous shots. So that's not one. That's not one. So I'm gonna give him a 1.
Look, if McTominay is a 3-story house, Marcus Rashford is a 100-story building. When that ceiling is high, it's high. But when he's on the first floor, he's on the first floor and he's really low. There's no middle ground with him. He doesn't work in the middle. He's either sweeping the floors at the bottom or he's the CEO at the top of the building. These analogies are really weird. Bear with me, please. Give him out of 10.
I agree. I think he was very lost. He was MIA. It wasn't the Rashford we know. I feel like when he got the ball, he didn't do much with it. I feel like he just tried to pass, and he was just very stationary as well with his movement. He didn't cut inside nearly enough. His passes were literally just little simple taps over to a player at best. We didn't see anything creative from him. We didn't see anything saying, I want to score a goal with you guys now. I want us to push forward. We just saw him exist on the left wing a lot of the time. And until his shot, I don't think he took a shot at all that game. So I'll give him a 1 as well. I agree. I don't think he deserves better.
My co-host here being generous because Shawnee said to give Pogba a -1 and everyone else a 0 except Van der Beek. We actually haven't got to you because he was a sub with the team at the end. And I will just say this about Marcus Rashford. I think the only reason he's getting a 1 year is because he put on his socks and he put on his kit. Like he
Yeah.
didn't do anything. He didn't do anything else. But anyways, we
Yeah.
move. Anthony Anonymous Martial, out of 10. What did you give him?
Dude,
Because
my
I know
fantasy
Martial during the
my
game.
fantasy captain. My fantasy captain.
Like,
Poor choice.
I'm screwed both ways this week. Fantasy and
Yeah.
United. I'm screwed both ways. Like, sometimes it sucks because these guys are brilliant players. But like, when the hold-up doesn't work, when the dribbling doesn't work, we need a goal. And I feel like that's why it's important that we get Sanchez, as you say, because he's a consistent goal scorer. So you help out Martial. But I felt like today it just wasn't happening for him. He tried in the second half to turn on the dribbling, but it just didn't happen. And yeah. I'm sorry. Like, he's a good player.
And say that I can see the argument for Harry Kane today. I don't think we should get Harry Kane. I think Jadon Sancho is the solution, because if Martial is going to be a hold-up striker, then we do need two wingers next to him who are capable of scoring, and that's an easy
forwards. Yeah.
However, I finally understand why people think we need a striker. I don't agree with it, but I finally understand, because there's so many situations where if we just had a striker who wasn't trying to do everything and was just standing in the penalty box, we would have scored. And again, please don't twist my words. I'm not saying we do need a new striker. I'm just saying I finally understand it. I see the frailties with Martial now. My eyes are opened.
I think Sancho can fix that problem, because unlike Rashford, Sancho's simple. Like, I'm going to pass and assist, I'm going to shoot and score. And he simplifies his game, and he has the skills. So, I know you say it. I'm just saying.
That is my counter for people who haven't heard it. Obviously, we've had this conversation off air, but just for the viewers, I've always said about Martial that the solution to him is much like Liverpool, right? Liverpool don't go out and sign a number 9. They just get two wingers who can do it, and they have a system where they don't rely on one person scoring goals. It's a complete front three. And you've got fullbacks who are whipping in assists, like, I don't know, like it's some sort of buffet where you can eat all you want, you know. And so Trent Alexander-Arnold, pardon me, is the chef who loves his job, and he's working there every day, dishing out them pancakes, baby. And I think Manchester United needs something of the same. Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw have a good game, and we get Jadon Sancho in on that right side, and we have Marcus Rashford playing well. It's an unstoppable team, because Martial just has to keep doing what he's doing, and occasionally he'll bring finesse shots on the edge of the box, and you just don't know what to do as a defense. You block Sancho, block Rashford, he's just going to shoot from the edge of the box anyways. But I digress. Exactly. Martial, out of 10, Clay, what did you give him? What were your thoughts on him today? I'm interested to hear your opinion, honestly, because I thought he was anonymous.
Yeah, I think we couldn't link up play well with him. In my opinion, Martial did look kind of sharp when he was on the ball, but just nothing ever came from it. He looked like he had the movements. He looked like he had the energy. It looked like he was ready to do something, but just he didn't feel like he had the support around him that he normally does. And he just didn't have a lot of movement, a lot of room to move. I think Martial was just underperformed in general. So I'll give him a 3. I think we definitely need to simplify our game a lot more, especially with our main players. And we saw that a lot tonight.
100%, man. 100%. Mace, was it Mace? No. It was actually that Welsh kid. It was that Welsh wonder kid. The one goal wonder. I heard he played well for Wales. Didn't really see it tonight, though. I think the reason why Mason didn't start had less to do with fitness and more to do with not being in the right headspace. But anyways, there's no way to justify why this guy is at the club, other than the fact that we have an inept board. I feel sorry for this kid. I really do. He's been thrown under the bus. He is the scapegoat for a lot of Manchester United's problems, and it's unfortunate because his career is going to be ruined thanks to Ed Woodward. It's all your fault, Ed. You decided to go spend 80 million in the summer on a centre-back when you could have split that 40-40 on a right winger from Europe and another centre-back from Europe. But what did you think of James Ritter today out of 10?
He doesn't deserve a rating.
Non-applicable. Are we getting another non-applicable?
He doesn't deserve a rating. If I want to give him one, it'd be -50. Like, James is so bad. James is so bad. Like, he does not improve us whatsoever. He gets the ball.
He's not dimensional anymore. He's more like 0 dimensional because he has no dimensions to his.
Dude, He gets the
didn't even
ball
look
and it kind of seems like he's looking for the most difficult solution because he's not productive. He run down the channel where he can make a simple pass. Like I don't know what's wrong with this kid. He has the ability to shoot. He doesn't shoot. Like what's going on with James? What's going on with James? Like I just don't know what to say. He wasn't even productive with his pace today. So bench player.
He didn't even look quick. He's not even a one-trick pony anymore. He's more like a no-trick pony.
Maybe as a bench option in his preferred position, which is left wing, maybe. But yeah, I don't know.
It was terrible performance from Dan James tonight. It genuinely was. I think Dan James has a lot to learn, has a lot to grow. He just needs to gain that football IQ. I think that's the biggest thing about his game. Because instead of running down that channel, it's an easy pass. Or instead of an easy pass, you go a step forward, try to beat your man a little bit. And he always just seems to get his decision-making wrong every time he's on the ball. And it just hurts us in the long run. He should be playing for under-21s, not in the first team at the end of the day. He's not good enough yet. Maybe one day he can, but right now we're not seeing anything like that that's showing that. So Dan James will get a 0 from me in all honesty.
I would have preferred just Lingard.
Yeah, I think Lingard could have been a bit more productive.
And that's
I
mean, not saying anything really.
Lingard did score on the last day of the season, so he has more goals than James in the past months. You know, Jailing. But anyways, I'm sorry. I digress. Van de Beek, are we giving him a rating? He's got to be your man of the match. What did you think of Van de Beek? You know, I know, Rita, you off air said that you like Van de Beek a lot and that it was a huge positive. So what did you think of him, man?
Yeah, no. We'll just focus on him because nothing else was great. He was a shining light, I guess. I mean, I think we have a lot of problems with our teams with depth. But maybe something we've kind of solved is having a replacement for Bruno and Pogba, which is great. Yeah. And he's very offensive. Like I remember Sheeny said it when we were offline, saying that he was watching him play for Netherlands, and he's right in the box, and he's always trying to look for a goal, and he's very quick with his movement, and he positioned himself so well that he got a goal in his debut. So I was really impressed.
Yeah. And what did you think of him, Claire?
I agree. I think he had a really good performance. I think he put a lot of energy as soon as he came on the pitch. I am just a little bit surprised of how high up he does play, as it was the first time I actually watched him as well. I think him pushing Bruno back as well it didn't help us when we needed a goal. We needed both of them working together, and it wasn't quite what we needed. But Van de Beek did perform very well. He got his goal, a little bit scrappy at the end, but it was a good finish nonetheless. And I do think he played well overall. And he maybe should have even started ahead of McTominay, some would argue.
Look, I hope you guys come to my funeral next week because Shawnee's going to kill me after this. But I think he should start ahead of Pogba. I do. And I'm sorry. I think he should start ahead of Pogba next to Bruno in the next game. Shawnee's coming to kill me tomorrow. And my funeral's next Wednesday. Please show up. There'll be scones and everything. And look, I'm not saying he's better than Pogba, but Pogba's just not it at the moment for me. And I think you got to use the guy you bought in the summer to improve your team. Well, Pogba didn't play that well today, and I don't think Van de Beek is a 6. So where else is he going to come into this team? I think somebody needs to get dropped, and I don't think it's Bruno. Somebody needs to get dropped. There needs to be difficult decisions made today. And yes, I can see the argument for him playing instead of McTominay, but what are we doing? What are we doing spending 50 million on a box-to-box midfielder just to put him in CDM when we've got Matic, Fred, and
He doesn't look like a CDM. Like I didn't see a CDM.
It's not the slightest,
Man's not interested in defending. And it's his position. And I don't know with him and Bruno. I feel like it would force Bruno a bit deeper. I like the dynamic between him and Pogba. But if Ole sees that Pogba's not training well, I feel like he shouldn't be scared to play.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap how deep Bruno's playing, baby. As long as VDB's in front of him, I don't give a crap how deep Bruno's playing. He can help. He can help Fosu-Mensah out because clearly Fosu-Mensah can't be a right back on his own. But anyways, I think we have got to wrap it up, guys. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, do you want to give him a rating? Do you want to go down that road? out of 10.
I'm happy to.
Yeah, no, we lost 3-1, so I'm gonna give him an average rating. I'm gonna give him a 6 because as much as you don't want to blame him too much, I don't think it was a tactical problem. I just feel like the players weren't on it, and defensively he just doesn't have the players. I do think the team will improve. Offensively, I think as time goes, we will get on it. We will be a bit warmer and we'll play better. But the defense is a big problem, and you can't really blame him too much. The only thing he can do is when he plays a bit deeper, and we don't want that. If we want to play as expansive as he's doing, like he's giving us what we want. You were screaming for the offensive football, and he's giving it to us. We get the ball, and we're very direct, but we're paying for it into our back line. So it's tough on him, Solskjaer, but he's Mr. Positive, and he'll get the best out of him. I guess that's all I'll say.
What do you think of him, Claire?
I think he could have done a lot better today. I think there's a lot of ways to be offensive. You don't have to be that route one. I just need to push the ball forward into the back of the net immediately. I think there's a lot he could improve on at the end of the day. I don't think we need to be employing wing backs 24/7, especially against the likes of Crystal Palace who hit hard on the break, because our defense is just outnumbered immediately when Townsend, Zaha, and Ayew are rushing down the wings.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that he could do with the team that we have, especially against the opponent we have. We can't just play the same football against every club and expect a different result, no matter what. We can do that against Chelsea because they hold a high line occasionally. We can do that against Liverpool. We can do that against City. But we can't do that against a team that will literally sit and wait until both our wing backs are out of position and push them and push our defenders and make a mockery of them. I think there's a lot Ali should be learning. I think there's a lot he should be growing into. I think he needs to start actually playing around more with tactics again. Because now that he's found this 4-2-3-1, he's kind of just set it and just gone with it for the rest of the season. So Ali gets a 2 for me, in all honesty. I think a lot of room for improvements.
I feel like I used to complain a lot about how we move the ball, and I still kind of see those problems, but I kind of given in because I feel like since Bruno and Pogba have fit and they're playing, he's decided that this is how you play, and he's very direct, and he doesn't change it as Clayton's saying. So I guess there is room for improvement there because there are times when we can slow it down and say these guys are playing us on the counter, so let's hold the ball a bit more and make them run, and we never do those type of things.
I think that's an interesting point. I think I wasn't really going to go in on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the show at all because I'm actually over it. I've been doing this for 7 years now. Remanaging. He's so one-dimensional. All he does is sit back. I've heard it all before. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can improve with his game management skills. I think that's not really... I mean, it is tactics in a way, but it's more game management as a manager. It's getting off the bench. And Van Gaal had this problem. By the way, Van Gaal had this problem probably more than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's getting off the bench and actually just telling your team, like, hey, you need to change things up. And maybe he is doing that at half time, but I feel like he isn't doing it enough. And if you want evidence that he's not doing it enough, look at his changes. He always waits so late to make substitutions, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And so I do agree that his game management skills need to change. But in terms of him changing tactics and being more experimental, I disagree there. I think when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was experimental, he was a terrible manager when he was trying back threes and all that crap. You found what works, stick to it. Yes, you can tweak it every now and then. Don't be stubborn. Tweak it, but don't completely change it.
That's what I'm saying.
At some point, we have to look at these players and say, you've got to be doing better than that. At some point, we have to say that Harry Maguire not marking players in the box has got nothing to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Lindelof not marking people in the box has nothing to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Wan-Bissaka getting skinned alive by Sevilla players, By Sevilla players has nothing to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Brandon Williams not being two-footed and always being so one-dimensional has nothing to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Nothing to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Greenwood being selfish on the touchline and not passing the ball. Dan James being selfish on the touchline or being just completely idiotic in his decision-making. And Rashford being Mr. Ronaldo, even when he's not playing like Ronaldo, he being Mr. Ronaldo, taking shots from bloody 60 yards out. That has nothing to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Pogba not watching behind him when he receives the ball. I'm still upset about that goal that he conceded because it nearly cost us. That has nothing to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So yes, we can go in on Ole. We can see things that he needs to improve, but Pep is also one-dimensional. Pep is also one-dimensional.
On Pep.
Okay, actually, no. So Alex Ferguson wasn't one-dimensional. I apologize. Please don't put my head in a stick.
Can I say something on Pep? Yes, last season I'm not gonna count it because I feel like last season they were very one-dimensional. But what Ole can learn from Pep's 100-point season is how easy they would move through how they're playing and how they move the ball.
Yeah.
With us, it seems like, as Clayton said, it's direct and finished. In that 100-point season, what I saw from Man City, it seemed like without Pep lifting a finger, the players somehow were able, or they were trained in such a way that in this moment in time, we're playing still. In this moment in time, we're countering. In this moment in time, we're still playing for certain football, but moving quickly. And I feel like we don't have that. And is that an issue?
Yes, he needs to tweak it. He needs to tweak it.
Yes.
But I don't want him going back to being experimental. I disagree with the experimental part. Like, I don't want us going back to playing back fives against bloody Burnley when we need 3 points.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I think experimental's definitely a big word at the end of the day.
Yeah, like
I definitely do see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, if you're saying he needs to tweak it and he needs to change, yes, that's game management. That's getting on the side, because not everyone can be a Pep where they drill it into their team that they can do it themselves. That is game management. That's getting off the touchline and saying, hey, idiots, you're giving away the ball too much. Hold on to it a bit and simplify things. That's game management. But in terms of being experimental, man, geez, I was upset when we played a back three against bloody Tranmere. I was like, why? You could knock us out the bloody tournament because now this vital in our season, Everton. You decide. Now is a good diamond against Everton. You decide. You were unbeaten. Now the time to really, Ollie, really. You didn't think about this when you were losing 2-2 at Old Trafford to Villa. But now, when things are going well, you decide, now I'm going to try a bloody diamond. And I don't want that with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I would rather he became a very stubborn manager and that forced action from our board, in a weird way. I don't want Manchester United to go and lose games for the greater good or anything like that, because it's not fun to watch our team lose. But I tell you what, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sticks to what he's doing, I am not going to go in on him. I'm not going to blame him because I've had this conversation with every other manager. Mourinho was one-dimensional. Van Gaal was one-dimensional. And Moyes wasn't even long enough. He was zero-dimensional like bloody Dan James. Signing bloody Fellaini instead of Thiago. What's an idiot? Yeah. Anyways, I hope...
Wait, can I ask a question before you?
Oh, yeah.
One last question. We don't sign a centre-back. That's cool. Smalling and Bailly are at the club. Smalling doesn't leave. Do you try make a new partnership or do you keep Harry Maguire in?
If Smalling doesn't leave, to play Maguire and Lindelof would be borderline imbecilic or idiotic for those of you who don't know what imbecilic means. That is all I'll say. Because you've literally got a solution to your problem. Nobody else is left-footed anyways, so you've literally got a solution to your problem. Keep Maguire on the left because he clearly enjoys playing there for some reason, and play Smalling instead of Lindelof. And not because I prefer Maguire over Lindelof, but you can't bench someone you paid 80 million for. You can't bench your captain, so it has to be Maguire and Smalling. Like, why that for me is the dream scenario. If Smalling stays, we don't have to worry about Gabriel Magalhaes. And I don't know why somebody hasn't told Ed Woodward, hey, you have a centre-back. Tell Ollie that this is the guy. And if Ollie doesn't want to play this guy, you're not getting a centre-back. I think that's fair. I think Ed Woodward has every right to say, hey, I spent 80 million pounds on the centre-back last summer. You're not getting one. Try Smalling. Look at what he did at Roma. I think he has every right to do that. The onus is on Ollie to be like, okay, I'm going to stop with my bullshit favoritism and I'm actually going to play this guy for half the season and see what happens. Because this weird loyalty towards Lindelof and Maguire, especially when one of them supposedly had a hip injury and was taking injections and bloody pills before every game, reportedly, it's weird. It's weird when you have a solution. So for me, it's 100% play Smalling. Don't disrespect my boy Smaldini. Smalling. But what do you think, Lex?
Yeah. I think Smalling on his day is a really good defender. He's top class, and he did show that a lot in Roma. I think he really proved that he is still a good defender in Italy. But we also have to remember that Smalling wasn't exactly one of the best defenders in the Premier League when he was here. So I think it's fair to try something different because right now this clearly isn't working. We should get some fresh blood in there, even if it is technically old blood at the end of the day. Yeah. I do think things need to change. I think we do need to see if maybe Maguire and Smalling make a better partnership because we haven't exactly tested that before.
Listen, mate, to anyone who thinks Smalling's performance over the last however many years he's been at the club, is a reflection of him as a defender. Let Van Dijk play next to Phil Jones. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when Van Dijk plays next to Phil Jones. Let's see what happens when every other defender in the Premier League plays next to Phil Jones. You know, I just think with Smalling, look, I don't rate Smalling that highly, but at the moment he is the solution. He's quick.
Yeah, it's a
he
good
can
option.
move the ball a lot quicker than Lindelof, and he's not prone to mistakes like Lindelof and Jones. You know, he's not frail. He can do things if he's got someone next to him who's willing to just sit back and calm down. And I think Maguire will benefit a lot from having someone who's quick next to him, because he doesn't have to run up and down so much. He can just stay and hold the deeper line and make sure that he doesn't get outrun every time. And if he does, Smalling will cover it for him. It's cool. But 100% Smalling. Like, what else are you going to do? Because Bailey's going to get injured within 3 games if you try to play him anyways. But I don't see that happening because Smalling wants to leave, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has this weird loyalty towards, I mean, Smalling is English actually, but towards that other English fridge in our defense. And that Swedish player that we shall not speak about. Anyways, I think we should wrap up the show because it's been going on for quite a while. I hope you enjoyed that. Please do hit the like button. Subscribe if you are new, because we do make content on a weekly basis, match reactions, match previews, as well as transfer talk. And we're adding a little bit of spice to the channel this season, talking about more general football topics. So if you are interested in that, please do hit that sub button. And it's been your boy TripleM. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. My phone's